This programme is powered by Dunlop Tyres, Spa05.com, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix and PPG Fitzner. Since the 1950s, the peace and quiet of the Belgian Ardennes forests has periodically been replaced by the roar of racing engines on the road course at Spa Francorchamps. Crowds flock to the track as their racing heroes set off to do battle on the 14 kilometres. The 21 turns include one of the planet's most challenging, Eau Rouge, followed by the uphill Radion. Here, the driver is supreme. No advanced control systems, just a steering wheel, pedals, and courage. And while some of the track has changed, today's drivers still face the same challenges at Eau Rouge and Radion, but with even greater speed. The legendary hairpin at La Source, braking from top speed to a near standstill before firing the car back downhill towards Eau Rouge. The challenge remains just as tough today. The cars increase in speed, but the essence of racing will always be the same: to find the ideal line and maximum grip through the challenging corners. And pit stops feature now as then. Even today, the modern cars can require a push start to get them going. Drivers and mechanics then had a passion for racing, and that has not changed either. The passion endures, and that's the case for the Supercar Challenge. We're at round 7 at Spa Francorchamps. We kick off the action with Super GT, GT, GTB, Super Sport and Sport divisions all in the same races, and that means over 50 cars on each grid. Fastest lap for each car in qualifying defined its position for Saturday's first race, second fastest lap for Sunday's grid lineup. In Super GT, Jan Versluis, second in the championship, lined up second on the grid in his Ferrari behind his main rival, Glyn Geddy, starting on pole in the McLaren GT3. The complete grid of 5 classes heading up for a final warm-up lap. With just 4 races to go, including this one, every point counts, and that means perhaps being cautious at the start, but who will keep that in mind when the red lights go out? In Super GT, then, the pole sitter Glyn Geddy from Jan Versluis, Bob Herver's Ferrari, and Peder Hoevenaars in the Viper, then Henry Sumbrink in the blue Volvo, with Roger Graal's Corvette alongside on row 3. So here we go then, lights about to change as they race down towards La Source for the first time. Always an option to try and go for the inside. Henry Sumbrink trying to dive around the outside of the Ferrari. There is the Viper on the outside of him, Peder Hoevenaars. Bob Herber doesn't get the drive off the corner. Sumbrink held up. Hoevenaars goes through. Back in front of the Volvo. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of us. But here comes Henry Sumbrink. He's going the long way around the outside. I don't think Peder Hoevenaars fancied challenging that one wheel to wheel in Eau Rouge. Bob Herber gets good drive off the corner, through Radion and up the long Kemmel Straight. Well, that opening foray would decide the lead positions in Super GT until the pit stop window. And luckily for Jan Versluis, the puncture that he picked up was during the pit stop window. Of course, he lost time to Glyn Geddy, but it would have been far worse if he'd not been able to complete his mandatory pit stop at the same time. But 15 points behind Geddy coming into the race, he will not close the gap. It will open up instead. Through the pit stops, Glyn Geddy remained in the lead. The battle behind, Roger Graal's in second, Martin Lanting in third. Geddy heading to his 3rd race win on the trot.
Obviously get the win again. The penalties are helping, but it's just a bit too much. I'm sure we'll get an extra penalty for the next one, I'm sure, but hopefully Arsene and Dad will be back in the car, so it'll be good.
3rd in Super GT decided on the final corner. Jan Versluis closing on Martin Lanting's Ferrari, who's held up by a Porsche momentarily. Tries to go the long way outside. Inside there's contact, and it's a drag race to the line that Lanting wins by 0.07 of a second on paper. The race control hands him a penalty later for unnecessary contact, moving Jan Versluis up to 3rd in the final results. 2nd place for Roger Graal's moves him up to 2nd in the championship, ahead of Jan Versluis. Pierre-Etienne Bourdais, 2nd in the GT points with his Volvo S60 Silhouette and heading towards pole position in qualifying. Until this, it all went wrong at Les Combes. flying at almost unabated speed straight into the barriers. And the Volvo an utter write-off, the end of his championship hopes. Amazingly though, Pierre-Etienne walked away unharmed and was later able to tell us what happened.
J'étais dans le tour de retour au stand, on devait rentrer pour changer les pneus.
I was on an outlap, he said, heading back to the pit lane for a new sector tyres for second qualifying. I wasn't going that fast, but the throttle jammed at Les Combes. Worst place to have a problem, there's no room for error there. Nothing I could do. Smashed into the barriers, and that was it. Well, the Volvo reduced to tiny proportions. Amazingly though, he was totally unharmed. Well, I was checked up by the medical crew. Amazingly, nothing at all. I'm all okay. Luckily, the impact was mainly on the passenger side, otherwise perhaps my legs would have been crushed. So very glad everything's okay. Well, us too. Pole went to English drivers Craig Wilkins and Aaron Scott in their Dodge Viper GT3. They won the race too, taking over second place in the points from Bourdais, moving closer to Stefan Bellingen and Vard Slice.
We had actually perfect weekend with pole position and the win. I think we did fastest lap as well, so there's credit to the team. They've done a good job with the car and really a nice race for us. Shame, I'd like to say a shame for the Volvo driver who had the crash in qualifying, because I think we would have had a good fight in the race, so hopefully he can get his car fixed.
In the GTB class, it was win number 5 for Dutch duo Rennie Weinen and Charlie Freins, taking pole position for both races as well. Much needed points for their championship challenge. Belgian drivers Patrick Lamster and Mark Nijns still top the table though, but they've yet to win a race. It's their consistency versus the bad luck of their Dutch rivals that keeps them on top. Tom and James Webb took second place in their BMW. Marcel van Berlo third in his Porsche GT3 Cup. Lamster and Nijns in 5th are now just 11 points ahead. In Supersport, Luc de Kock once more claimed pole position with his Lotus 211 GT4, but he lost ground quickly in the race. Bas Schouten took the lead in the BMW, followed by Jimmy Adriansens in the red and white Seat. Luc de Kock had problems and was passed by Ferry Monster too before being eventually forced to retire with a broken drive belt in the little Lotus. Well, de Kock's big championship lead has evaporated. The Monster brothers had a perfect race, slicing their way through the field, even ending up on the bumper of Bas Schouten in second place in the points. Ferry Monster took the lead in the bus stop and refused to hand it over. So the Monster brothers take over second in the championship, just 12 points behind longtime leader Luc de Kock, with Schouten 3 points further behind in the BMW. An impressive race win. The Seat is better on the tight and twisty circuits than the long, fast stretches at Spa. They put the points on the board when they needed them most. Ferry did a perfect job, says Robin, brought the car home in front. We only had 5 extra result seconds in the pits. After a lap, I saw Jimmy Adriansens getting close after his pit stop. I managed to raise the pace and opened up a gap. That settled pretty quickly, didn't have to push too hard. The team did a perfect job preparing the car. They put a lot of effort in. The car was fantastic, so all credit to them. In the Sport Division, Championship leader Art Bosman puts his Zandvoort bad luck behind him. There, he dropped out of both races that weekend. In Spa, he took pole for both and claimed victory on Saturday when Erik van der Munkhoff dropped out with a broken engine in the Ford Focus. So his championship lead grew, even with second place Rob Neiman taking second in the race. Cleo drivers de Borst and Klein take third, but the big boss is back on top, winning his 6th race of the season. I took the lead, held on to about a 16-second advantage, he said, then Van der Munkhoff dropped out. Same story for the Carranza brothers, so the gap got even bigger for around 40 seconds. We had some pretty clever tactics in mind, but didn't need them. After a bright and sunny Saturday, Spa's unpredictable weather threw a bit of a curveball on Sunday morning. It started raining early, then had stopped as the cars headed to the grid and the track was plainly starting to dry out. In Supercar Challenge, you're only allowed to fit wets or slicks. There are no intermediates, so everyone was in a quandary. Jan Verslijs came to the grid on wets, but confusion as to what to do. He changed the slicks, as did pretty much all the Super GT field, apart from Sebastian Blekemolen back in 18th. United Autosports team was decisive. They started changing from wets to slicks immediately, but the problem being everyone needed permission from race control to make the change on the grid, didn't get it, so most of the Super GT competitors will start with a 1-minute time penalty. There's the stall BMW of the Webb brothers. Luc de Kock, Ferry Monster moving off on wets. Rival Bas Schouten will start from the pit lane after swapping legally to slicks, so there'll be no penalty for him. Same story for GT leaders Ward Slice and Stefan Bellingen. They're also on slicks, having changed in the pit lane. GTB leaders Patrick Lamstra and sport leader Art Bosman also there, but it might be a gamble starting in prevaricating weather on slick tyres. So once more on pole, Glyn Geddy from Jan Verslijs, Peter Hovenaars and Bob Herber. Then Henry Zumbrink in the Volvo with Roger Graals again alongside. Top 6 the same as for race 1, but in treacherous conditions. So here we go, on slick tyres on a wet Spa Francorchamps, the ultimate challenge perhaps for a racing driver. Glyn Geddy in the McLaren leads into the first corner. The Ferraris side by side for Slice and Herber. And carving up on the inside comes the Porsche of Sebastian Bleekemolen, starting in 18th place, already starting to move up the order. On board then, Bob Herber being very cautious out of La Source. Glyn Geddy riding the curbs. That's flirting with danger in these conditions. Everybody's so slow through Eau Rouge. So easy to lose it there. And already Bleekemolen is carving through the field. There he goes. He's gone by Bob Herber's Ferrari. On wet weather tyres, he has got all the grip he needs and more to spare. Just blast past Jan Verslijs. Is he going to have the lead before they get to the braking point at Les Combes? No, he's not. But he's got better braking and better traction than Glyn Geddy and takes the lead into the second element of the corner. 18th to first in 3 turns. And that is the benefit of having the right tyres. But for how long will wets be the right choice? And of course, don't forget, most Super GT drivers also have an extra 1 minute automatically added to their race time. There's car number 111. That's Peter Hovenaars in the older Viper. Well, his slightly antique traction control means that he is getting better drive out of the corners. Perversely, the more modern cars like the Ferraris and the McLaren are being really hampered by their electronics. Same story for Henry Zumbrink, less sophisticated, the Volvo Silhouette, and he outdrags Bob Herber's Ferrari to take 5th position. And again on the exit, Herber's car will not allow him to put down the power where and when he wants, keeping it safely reined in. So here is the battle then between Jan Verslijs and Peter Hovenaars. This is for 3rd behind Glyn Geddy. And again, all these guys pretty much in the same boat. As Sebastian Bleekemolen checks out in front, these guys all with a 1 minute time penalty, so they are batting from an equal position. Jan Verslijs, massive understeer there, can't get the power on. You can hear the car struggling for grip. Peter Hovenaars goes by in the Viper. That's the change for 3rd place. Hovenaars really relishing this. You would think that the less sophisticated car would be at a disadvantage. Not the case. Big slide there for the McLaren. Wets are clearly still the right tyre to have. There's the Porsche, the GTB leader. That's Gerard de Jong ahead of Marcel van Berlo and Jackie van der Ende. Ferry Monster leading Supersport ahead of pole sitter Luc de Kock. As the track starts to dry, the balance of power is changing. Bob Herber retaking 5th place from Henry Zumbrink now, attacking Jan Verslijs. Great run out of Eau Rouge and onto the Kemmel Straight in the slipstream, and this is all helping the Ferrari's top end speed. Goes to the inside. Verslijs will brake on the drier part of the track. Herber on the wetter part can't brake quite as late, can't get through there. But still Sebastian Bleekemolen out front from Glyn Geddy and Peter Hovenaars. Then this battle for 4th place. Again, bit of understeer there for Jan Verslijs, drifts out very wide. Well, both men in Ferrari 458s, but it looks as though Bob Herber's got the better setup. Ferrari's still battling for position. Bob Herber goes around the outside, and a problem there for Henry Zumbrink. Drifts out wide. Roger Graals is straight through on the inside. Well, that's a change for 6th position. Zumbrink couldn't hold it there in Rivage. All these 4 cars battling for the championship honours. Graals and Verslijs for the points lead as well. Peter Hovenaars now past Glyn Geddy for 2nd place, challenging for the race lead. Sebastian Bleekemolen's tyres have burnt up. Well, slicks are now the right course. Hovenaars takes a tight line at La Source, and look at the Porsche, can't get turned. Sebastian Bleekemolen's chances of winning have all gone. Meanwhile, Verslijs again gets it wrong at La Source. Looks like his setup is more a dry one than Herber's. Outbraking there, out of the question. And through goes Roger Grals in the Corvette. Well, change for second in the race, but more importantly, it might be a change for second in the points as well. Henry Sundbrink in the Volvo can't get by the Ferrari, so the track's starting to dry out nicely. Oh, but not the curbs. Roger Grals taking too much curb on the inside, loses traction completely, hits nothing. Well, on board again, let's take a look at this. Grals, big handful of curb on the inside. It's as greasy as ice. Just spits the car off into a looping spin. He's lucky that everyone avoids him and he doesn't hit the barriers. Our race leader, Peter Hoevenaars, heading into the pit stop window. Sebastian Bleekemolen already down to third place. There is Glengetty squirming through the chicane in second. That's one of the wetter parts of the track, but Bleekemolen can't wait for that pit window to open. His wet weather tyres are graining and chunking horribly. The Ferrari's now all over him. Now it's Bleekemolen who's on the wrong tyre. He benefited from his wets at the beginning, but now it's like taking candy from a baby for the Ferrari drivers. How is this race going to turn out? This program is powered by Dunlop Tyres, Spa05.com, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix and PPG Fitzner. Spa Francorchamps for round 7 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Dunlop with Super GT, GT, GTB, Supersport and Sport classes all in one massive race. In wet but drying conditions, the Super GT field started on slicks, except for Sebastian Bleekemolen in the Porsche. He took the early lead on wets. But as the track slowly but surely dried out, the rain tyres wore away. Peter Hoevenaars, with limited traction control in his older Viper, took the lead of the race. Points leader Glengetty in second, Bleekemolen down to third. The battle for fourth between the Ferraris, and they would eventually move past Bleekemolen, who had no answer with his overheating wet tyres. Bob Herber overshooting at the bus stop. Jan Verslijs, can he get the power down? He does. Around the outside he goes. This could be a change for third spot. No, Herber fights back on the inside. Verslijs still fiddling with the traction control settings. The car is not doing what he wants. Verslijs not able to get by Bob Herber before the pit stops. The setup really not working. With no result seconds to slow him down in the pits, Peter Hoevenaars retained the lead. Sebastian Bleekemolen with 25 result seconds, but the only man not to swap onto slicks on the grid and therefore not pick up a 1-minute penalty, took second. Glengetty got by Henry Sundbrink's Volvo for third. Well, they both benefited from a drive-through penalty for a mistimed pit stop for Roger Grals. He was down in fifth position, just ahead of Jan Verslijs, as the pit stops shook themselves out. Verslijs with a 20-second penalty for success. Well, he really has to get by the Corvette. He needs those championship points. Verslijs, though, at La Source, piling the pressure on the Corvette. And the Ferrari's traction control clearly working better in these conditions. Racing down into Eau Rouge. Verslijs looking for the inside line. They go 3 wide. And through he goes. That was a ballsy move. Well, a great race for Peter Hoevenaars to claim his first win of the season in terrifically tricky conditions at Spa Francorchamps. Absolutely well earned. Verslijs moved up to fourth place by the end. Sundbrink got a drive-through from a mistimed pit stop as well. Glengetty taking third behind Bleekemolen. Finally, we've got to take advantage of the weather, said Peter Hoevenaars. Track was a bit damp at the beginning. Perfect conditions for my car. It's all about the driver here. The Ferraris and the modern cars couldn't accelerate properly with their traction control in these conditions. So the settings were great for me in the car. Perfectly set up for the wet and the dry. I didn't know how big the lead gap was, but I finally won. It's been a great race. No mechanical problems. Ahead of the final 2 races in Assen, 25 points separate Jim and Glengetty from Jan Verslijs, now back up to second in the standings. Roger Grals still also in with a mathematical chance of the title. Steve Van Bellingen started second in the GT class and kept the place up to the pit stops. Craig Wilkins and Aaron Scott were setting a good pace too in their Viper, but with 10 more result seconds for the English duo, they had no chance of getting on terms. Second place, though, ensures that Van Bellingen and Verslijs don't win the championship here at Spa. They need just a single point in Assen, though, to seal the title. It was an up-and-down weekend in GTB for Patrick Lamster and Mark Nines. Nines made his way through the field to take the lead. Lamster lost that after a spin at La Source. Another victory then for Weinen and Freins, their 6th of the season. Their biggest rivals were just 6, so the championship lead is shrinking. After missing Slovakia ring, Weinens and Frein are finally back in the championship chase. Well, we had more result seconds than the others, said Charlie, but I pushed hard. We changed from wets to slicks in the pit stops with brand new tyres. We did great times, so I'm very happy with the result. Their second win of the weekend, Gerard de Jong's Porsche in second, third and another podium for the Webb brothers in their BMW. Well, the final round at Assen sees the championship just 2 points spread. With 2 races to go, anything could happen. Ferry Monster started the race on rain tyres in Supersport to take the lead of the class. He took 3rd place overall as the Super GTs that changed to slicks on the grid got an immediate 1-minute penalty. The Seat was suddenly in the top 3, not for long of course. The Super GTs around 10 seconds faster a lap, especially in the drying conditions. The mandatory pit stops, and with 20 seconds results extra, they had plenty of time to change from wets to preheated slicks. And with 5 separate wheel nuts per wheel, that's quite some job for the mechanics. But no dramas, and Robin Monster headed out, still leading the race. Great teamwork there. Belgian drivers, though, not having much luck in Spa this weekend. After dropping out of Saturday's race, Luc de Kock suffered again. Having to change from wets to slicks took too long, stressed out the crew, and it cost a full extra minute in the pit stops. He dropped back to 10th, again scoring hardly any points. The Monster brothers led, but again they had bad luck. Robin Monster came in with a puncture. That cost them more time. Again, those 5 wheel nuts, a major drama. Well, it's a problem they could really have done without, but it could have been worse, as Ferry Monster explained. Robin shouted to us over the radio that he picked up the puncture in Blanchimont. He's just got in and out, and it's a flat right tyre. Probably picked up some debris on the track, but it's a bitter pill to swallow because we were leading. No chance of winning after such a long, unplanned pit stop, I'm afraid. Well, there was bad luck too for championship contenders Koen Bokaerts and Peter van Solen. They dropped out of the race. Saturday, a broken drive shaft. On Sunday, more technical problems. No chance for them in the championship. Bas Schouten benefited, taking precious championship points, and he was happy to take the win in style. Well, we've got maximum ports today, but also a bucket load of results seconds, he said. We'll see what happens in Assen, but I think the Monster brothers dropped out. I'm not quite sure. Shame for them, but it's good to get the championship points. Luc de Kock not in the top 6, and the Monsters back in 4th place. So Jimmy Adriansens scoring his 2nd Supersport podium of the weekend. Ruud Olly taking 2nd, Bas Schouten maximum points. He shares the points lead with Luc de Kock, who takes no result seconds to Assen. The Monster brothers with 5 seconds, Schouten a whopping 45, and that means that anything could yet happen. But the championship, 3 teams covered by 2 points. It'll be a nail-biter. It seems in sport class there's just no way of beating Art Bosman. Having started from the pit lane on slicks, he was right at the tail of the field, so no danger seemingly for Erik van der Munkhoff, who led in the Ford Focus Sport. The battle for second here between Frank Bedoff in the blue Clio, the Carranza brothers in the blue 1 Series, and Rob Niemann's yellow Clio. Niemann held off going into Eau Rouge, and that allowed Bedoff to escape a little. He would take second place in the race, with the Carranzas in third. All over for Erik van der Munkhoff in his T-car. More mechanical problems, forcing him out. And Art Bosman, well, having started on slicks, as the track dried, he became the star of the class, slicing through the field to take his 2nd win of the weekend, his 7th of the season. The highly developed Lotus Exige has outpaced its rivals all year long, but he's moving to Superlights next year to give somebody else a chance of winning.
Heel langzaamaan kwam ik steeds verder naar voren. En toen op een gegeven moment lag ik op de 3e plek. Ik denk van,
well, I slowly made my way forward, he said. Before the pit stops, I was even up to 3rd. I think some of my rivals dropped out. After pit stops, I was 18 seconds behind the leading pack with 15 minutes to go. Pushed really hard. And there you go, back to the top. With a 37-point lead, there's not much Art has to do other than turn up for Assen, it seems, but bearing Zandvoort in mind, anything is still possible for Rob Neiman. So that's it for Super GT, GT, GTB, Supersport and Sport divisions here at Spa, but there's much more to come. The biggest Supercar Challenge Superlights grid of the season so far, with 4 championships battling around Spa Francorchamps. Plenty of action. This programme is powered by Dunlop Tyres, Spa05.com, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix and PPG Fitzner. This programme is powered by Dunlop Tyres, Spa05.com, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix and PPG Fitzner. Hello and welcome to the 7-kilometre historic Formula 1 track nestled in the Belgian Ardennes forests. We're at Spa Francorchamps for round 7 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Dunlop. As well as the GT and touring cars, we've got a category in its inaugural year, the Superlights division. These nimble and highly speedy prototype sports cars. And the grid has grown this weekend. The Speed Euro Series, Funyo Cup and Seika Cup have joined in. And that means more drivers from more nationalities and more manufacturers, with Ligier, Tartus, Gibson and Tiger joining in the play. And we've got news from Italy's Wolf Racing, who have been in the category all year long. With 2 Wolf GB08 cars is the brand new GB08S, capable of lap times quicker than current LMP2 machinery. Experienced driver Ivan Bellarosa qualified the car on pole for both races, but he will not compete for points in any of the classes. For the first race of the day, slicks are being replaced by wets after rain starts to fall while the cars are on the grid. Yet again, the Spa weather is up to its old tricks. Martin Short, leading the Radical SR8 Championship, starts from P2. Then from 5th on the grid, panic for Nicolas Deval. The team trying to get the engine cover off. There's a fire down in the exhaust bay. Seems to be little damage, and luckily perhaps it's starting to rain harder, so that will put the fire out. And that means that Henk Thies will need some windscreen wipers maybe on his helmet. He starts 3rd. Well, the warm-up lap is going to be vital for everybody to find out where the water is and how the cars are handling, because likely they've not been set up for these wet conditions. Problems for Nicolas Deval once more. Car is not getting away from the grid, so the team are going to have to work on it in the pit lane. Bit of a scramble for the Bas Curtin Racing team, and hopefully he'll be able to start from the pits. Well, luckily it's a long warm-up lap. Well, 10 car manufacturers in the field from 5 countries: Italy, the UK, France, Slovakia and the Netherlands. Ivan Bellarosa's brand new Wolf on pole position. The Radical SR8s of Martin Short and Henk Thies 2nd and 3rd. CN class pole sitter, that's the Shell and Leuweiter Ligier, and then the Wolf of Belotas and Mastro Berardino. Lacorte Seviato and Azakart in their Tartuses. Next up in that CN class, Kokopian on pole in SR3. On board with Henk Thies, blasts away, and alongside Thies is Julien Schell, the Blue Machine, while the familiar black and gold of Wolf Racing into the first corner in front, and Henk Thies up the inside. Is he going to take second from Martin Short? Short is on the curbs. It is the red car that is in second place. Great starting from Henk Thies. He leads the SR8 class. Well, not sure that Martin Short was too pleased about being eased out off the track, but he knows that Henk Thies can get himself into trouble occasionally, so he lets him go. Denny van Dongen leading in the Praga class, the factory driver taking the lead from the car of Philip Ribbons and Robert de Graaf. They set pole for both races. Ribbons taking it easy though in these wet conditions, and so he should. It's a long race, 60 minutes, a lot could happen. And down towards the tail of the field, Nicolas Deval, there he is, second last with the yellow headlights on. Ivan Bellarosa leading comfortably from Henk Thies and Martin Short. The 2 Radical SR8s don't have the pace of this brand new, more powerful Wolf. Who else behind? Still the blue car of Julien Schell and Nicky Leutweiler. The Ligier in 4th place, and then up into 6th position. Look, the black car with the yellow headlights, that's Jürgen van Hove. His 2010 CN prototype up in front of the 2012 Tartus cars. That's a great move. Winner on the road is Ivan Bellarosa in the Wolf GB08S. But the car's not eligible for any of the classes here. Towards the end, it's not Julian Schell and Nicky Leuweiter in the Ligier who take the Speed Euro Series win. It's this car, the number 7, Roberto Lacorte and Giorgio Cerviotta, their Italian Tartus MYO12 in front. Juan Azacate in an identical car in second place. Battle for third is the Ligier and Tiger battle. Julian Schell and Cerviotto's Blue Ligier, chased by Alex Chamkin's Tiger, loses it in Eau Rouge, body comes off. Well, the crash brings out the red flags. Luckily, motorsport engineer Alex Chamkin is unhurt, and they don't lose their place as it's counted back to the last complete lap. And Tiger, of course, constructed from the Group C era. Their CN212B model continues the line set up by ex-Grand Prix drivers Tim Schenken and Howden Ganley. Car too badly damaged, though, to race in race 2, which is the same day. So a bit of a body blow for the team. Race winner is Ivan Bellarosa, somewhat confused. He wasn't quite sure if the race would continue or not, but it's a successful shakedown for the 3-litre V8 Wolf GB08S.
But with this car is very, very simple. Yes, no problem. Very, very race of taxi driver.
Well, he made it look very easy, and the combined podium has Bellarosa and the top 3 in the CN class, Lacorte, Cerviotto, Azacate and Schell and Leutweiler, the Ligier duo. The battle for SR8 honours, as throughout the season, between the red car of Henk Thees and the white car of Martin Short. Short, the championship leader, 32 in front. Thees needing to push hard to catch up in the points. Short pushing hard to take second in the overall race. Through the bus stop he goes by. Baz Rosenberg third in the SR8 class, dropping out with technical problems. They've got 3.5 hours to get it ready for race 2. Plenty of work for the team to do. Well, 30 results seconds in the pit stop dropped Martin Short back again into second place. He caught right up to Henk Thees but couldn't pass because of the red flags.
Het was onze eerste race. We hebben direct nog een keer 1,5 uur te gaan.
Henk Thees, the 68-year-old, saying today was a great race, but it's 90 minutes this afternoon, so I took it easy, not burning up myself. Martin's very quick. Me winning was more luck than judgment. He was right on my tail when the red flags came out. Another lap, and who knows what might have happened. It was very close. Ko Kapian claims his 4th SR3 win of the season, 32 points now ahead of Wiebe Rademacher. Rick van Geffen unfortunately crashed out in the wet conditions, and Ko joined the SR8 drivers on the podium. Great race for Jürgen van Hove in the Norma M20F. He'd already moved up to 6th after just 1 lap. The CN class winner started 10th. He had Nicola and Stefano de Waal with their Wolf and Philippe de Klerk, Philip Daniels in their Norma to complete the podium.
Ja, het was zoals altijd weer een avontuur.
Well, as you expect, another great adventure here at Spa, said Jürgen. First time I've driven this car in the rain. I had to work out brake balance, the lines, gears and so on. I think we managed to set good times given the competition in our class though. Our car's actually 2007 with a 2010 update, so to win this race we've shown it's still competitive. Great result for Norma Benelux and for Blix Racing. In the Praga class, pole position for both races held by Robert de Graaf and Philip Ribbons in the Martin-sponsored car. In the race, Ribbons dropped down to second. Praga factory driver Denny van Dongen's knowledge paying off in the treacherous Spa conditions. The 210 horsepower, 590 kilo prototype's not the fastest on paper, but with its downforce, it's very usable in these conditions. In the pit stops between minute 25 and 35 of the race, Robert de Graaf takes over. And after a stall, they are off again. They'd finish second in the Praga class. Third, newcomers Diego Dueth and Vincent Lassage. First place, Denny van Dongen, and now behind the steering wheel, Berry van Elk, bringing the car home safely, much to his own surprise. Well, it's my first time in the car and in the rain, so that took some getting used to. Step by step, though, I got quicker. Bit slower than my rivals, but managed to finish, and that's an accomplishment. Oh, and we won as well. In the Seker class, the Dutch cars did extremely well. Top car finished 15th overall. That was Roger de Witt and Jeroen van den Heuvel. 275 horsepower turbocharged Subaru engine in these 785 kilo cars. Well, the second race on Sunday, a 90-minute enduro battle, 37 cars, bright and sunny conditions, right after this. This programme is powered by Dunlop Tyres, Spa05.com, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix and PPG Fitzner. The legendary Spa Francorchamps in Belgium, round 7 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Dunlop. And with legendary corners like Eau Rouge and Radiant, plenty to entertain the drivers in the Superlights division. The Duval brothers and their Wolf GBO8 start in 4th place. They had a fire on the pre-grid for race 1. Now they have to try and put that behind them. On pole is the sister car, the GBO8S, bigger and faster, 12 seconds quicker than the Radical SR8 with its 3-litre V8. Martin Short again on the front row with his Radical SR8. Brakes smoking after being preheated on the warm-up lap. And despite the sun shining, earlier rain means the track is cool. Hank Tace lines up 3rd, Nicola and Stefano Duval 4th, ahead of the Ligier of Julien Schell and Nicky Leutweiler, who are pole in the SPS CN class. On board with Co Capian, he's pole in the SR3 category. Philippe de Klerk and Philippe Daniels Norma alongside as we get the run up to the lights. Holding the speed. And away we go, rushing down into La Source for the first time. Ivan Bellarosa's black and gold Wolf immediately surges in front. No mistakes this time from Martin Short. He takes 2nd from Henk Tace. And Nicolo and Stefano Duval's Wolf in 4th spot ahead of the Ligier. No dramas at La Source, everybody, bearing in mind this is a 90-minute race. On board with Co Capian, heading down into Eau Rouge. Vital to get a good exit here. See him mitigating the speed on the way in. Oh, maybe not confident enough in the tyres though. Not chasing the throttle, and that is going to leave him vulnerable on the long run up the hill. Up to Les Combes, a 3-wide battle for 4th place on the right of picture. That is Dan Gibson. He goes around the outside ahead of Julien Schell and Stefano Duval. The red and black Seika leading his class. That's Lawrence DeWitt, SR3 leader Co Capian, and Robert de Graaf is in charge in the Praga class from pole. Well, let's take a look with Co Capian up the Kemmel Straight. Past goes Lawrence DeWitt in the Seika and Bob Rosenberg's SR8 that retired in race 1. Waved yellows there, and that's because Dan Gibson overcooked it at the top of the hill and spun at Les Combes. Rosenberg going by under yellows, but that move was started and he couldn't drop back in. Well, the Seika with more weight and more power, but up the inside, Co Capian retakes 1 spot from Lawrence DeWitt. Well, he lost 2 places being cautious through Eau Rouge and out of Radiant earlier on. Capian, the championship leader in SR3, one of the quickest drivers in the field, making up for lost ground as he got by the Seika. Now chasing Bob Rosenberg in the SR8. The SR8, 220 horsepower more than the SR3. It's 110 kilos heavier. That means that Capian with the SR3, more nimble in the corners, but in a straight line, the SR8 just opens its lungs and tears away. Rosenberg still struggling with that car, retired in the first race, not looking entirely comfortable. It's all right in a straight line. It doesn't seem to want to come to the apex of the corner though. Well, the SR3, 1340cc 4-cylinder engine, 210 horsepower, and the SR8 2.7 V8, 430 horsepower. Heading back towards the superfast section towards Blanchimont, Co Capian just can't attack. Here's Ivan Bellarosa doing his taxi driver job in the Wolf GBO8S. Way clear. Martin Short leading Henk Tace in the Radical SR8 class. The Blue Ligier of Julien Schell leading the 2 Wolves in the CN class. Then the Tartus pair, Lacorte Serviotto ahead of Azakats. Charles Coleman and Jean-Louis Rion in their Ligier next up. And 10th spot for Philippe de Klerk and Philippe Daniels in their Norma. Robert de Graaf leading the Praga class. Van der Heuvel and DeWitt Seika in front leading that category. Chasing Mike Newton and Alan Bonner's Tiger. That's a CN class car. This is the battle for 17th overall. And the diminutive Praga with a 2-litre Renault normally aspirated engine. 210 horsepower but only 590 kilos. 275 horsepower for the Seika. but 795 kilos for that big close cockpit car. Well, there's no chance at all that Robert de Graaf is going to get by on power alone. Got to use your slipstream when you haven't got the horsepower. Got to use your handling and braking as well. De Graaf climbing the hill. Well, less horsepower also means a lower top speed, especially uphill on the Kemmel Straight. He's going to have to wring the neck of that Renault engine to keep up. But up at Les Cons, the tight and twisty section, he ought to do well. Meanwhile, de Graaf also being chased by the green and white Seeker of Rudolf Meyer. But can he defend on the centre line going into Les Cons? And Robert de Graaf getting up to speed with the tiny Praga R1. Well, now under braking, the much lighter Praga has the chance. He goes through at Pouhon. Jeroen van der Heuvel down to 18th overall, second in the Seeker class. Mike Newton and Alan Bonner's Tiger in front. And the Praga goes through on the inside there. Again, a battle of power versus handling here between the Superlights and the Speed Euro Series divisions. Next target, the Blue Ligier of Philippe Ischier and Amadine Foulard. Ishier's on the racing line, but diving up the inside, de Graaf makes up another spot, up to 15th. Battle for second in the Praga class. The cars of Diego Duez and Vincent Lassage, 7:02, and Barry van Elk and Denny van Dongen, 7:03. Well, both following Mike Newton's Tiger, and that means that these two Pragas have also got by Jeroen van der Heuvel's Seeker. The Pragas are slicing through the field. 14th place, Lawrence de Witt and Mike Barton's Seeker in front. And he again dives to the inside, really reveling in the handling of the tiny Praga R1. Mike Newton putting the pressure on Philippe Ischier for 16th overall. And for second place, Barry van Elk up the inside at Les Cons. He gets through. Rudolf Meyer was third in the Seeker class, but had to come into the pits with a puncture, sharing with Rick van Beek. In a 90-minute race, though, time perhaps to make up for some lost ground. They dropped to third in the class, but the car is good to go. No dramas for Ivan Bellarosa, our race leader. Battle for SR8 honours continues. Martin Short in front of Henk Thees in the championship and here on the track as well. Thees will have to hope that the result seconds in the pit stops change the balance of power. Battle for fourth place. The Blue Ligier, Sheldon Lutweiler ahead of the Black Wolf and Stefano De Val there, eager to get his fourth place back. Battle behind them for 8th place is close as well. Ligier on the outside, Jono Coleman, little contact with Roberto Lacorte, but he goes through. It looks like Lacorte may have suffered a problem as a legacy of that, slowing down just in front of the battle behind. That's Kokopian, and he's gone past Rosenberg. So Kopian up to 11th, down into Fania. Kopian got through there in the slower section. Looked like Rosenberg hardly defended that one. Seems to be having problems getting the car slowed down. Rosenberg in the SR8 trying to get back on terms with the SR3. He's all over him in a straight line. Uh-oh, and that sounds ominous. Engine is working, but there are no gears, and maybe that's the problem he's had all race. Well, Henk Thees also coming very slowly into the bus stop.
De aandrijving van de dynamo die is er vanaf gegaan.
Alternator belt came off, he said. They're trying to put a new one on. If they can do it in the time window of the pit stop, we should be okay. Then we can keep fighting for the lead. Hopefully it'll be working out fine. Well, they do get it changed within the time window of the mandatory stops, but Henk Thees did not finish the race. Trouble 2 for Stefano De Val, having to reset the car from paddle shift to manual shift on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, and that dropped him back by 14 seconds. Still looks pretty quick though out of Eau Rouge and Radion. Massive speed up the Kemmel Straight. Funio class cars in front. Goes by them, and that's his Wolf teammate, the Guillermo Belotes and Antonio Mastro Berardino car. So he's gained all the places he lost. Well, now he can move forward again to try and close on the Blue Ligier, Julien Schell. Meanwhile, the second Wolf staying close. Maybe he let De Val pass him so he could follow closely as well. Persistence pays off. Stefano De Val chasing Julien Schell for third place. Still changing gears manually with his right hand. But with similar engines, the 2-litre Honda VTEC with 255 horsepower, manual shifting shouldn't make the Wolf faster than the Ligier, although it is a little lighter. Down into La Source, having a look on the inside. Is he going to get through? Oh, he does as well. Outruns himself a little under braking, and through comes the Ligier, back on the inside. Three-way battle, because the second Wolf is there as well. The Seika, which way is he going to go? He stays out to the driver's right, lets the quicker cars go through. That was very gentlemanly of him. Well, the Duval brothers made it up into third, but after the pit stops dropped back to sixth. No problems though for the other Wolf. The battle for third place towards the end between Nicky Leutwiler and Antonio Mastro Berardino. The blue Ligier challenging the Wolf on the inside. And through it goes. Ivan Bellarosa leading the field quite comfortably to win overall. Again, the car not eligible for any of the championship classes, but what a great shakedown for the new Wolf GB08S. So the Speed Euro Series podium, Schell and Leutwiler from Ascot, and then Lacotte and Serviotto. Our Sian class winner in race 1, the Norma, driven by David Hotoft. But problems at Les Combes, electrical failure puts him out. And that moves this car, the Leclerc and Daniels machine, up to third place. The Duval brothers taking second in CN. But the win in the class going to the other Wolf, the Balotes Mastro Berardino car. So a big day for Wolf, a successful debut of the GB08S, winning overall and a 1-2 in the CN class as well. The retirement of Henk Tace in the SR8 class meant that the goal was open for Martin Short. He made no mistakes, claiming victory. SR3 winner was Kokopian.
I think I had the measure of him. I think I had a 25 or 30 second lead in half an hour, and unfortunately we didn't change tyres, and 90 minutes on an SR8 was too much, and I was 5 seconds slower. Right at the end, I just had nothing left. But it was a really good battle with the CN car, the blue one. Wow, it was, and the black one before that. But I had no tyres left. I was finished. I think maybe I'm just old.
Well, Short heads to the final rounds at Assen, ready to lift the title. Same for Kokopian, who won his 5th race of the weekend. We did it again, he said. Double win, maximum points for the championship. Things are looking good for Assen. We'll see what happens. Last time, though, it was an up and down weekend at Assen. After pit stops, Danny van Dongen, the Praga factory test driver, took over from Perry van Elk, holding the lead in the Praga class. Philip Ribbons dropped to third because of result seconds. Here chasing guest driver Vincent Lesage through Eau Rouge and up the Kemmel Straight. The pass for second place, he uses the slipstream and is by before braking. Second window for Denny van Dongen and Barry van Elk. Quite a remarkable weekend for the tall Barry van Elk. Another finish, another win this weekend with Barry. That's something I think we should do more often. Well, disaster strikes during the mandatory pit stops for the sucker of Jeroen van der Heuvel and Roger de Witt. Problems in fueling, setting fire to the car, to the refueler and some of the kit equipment. Luckily, everybody was unharmed, but the race 1 winners are definitely out. So Lawrence de Witt and Mike Barton took the win in the class. They were 14th overall, led from start to finish. Rudolf Meyer and Rick van Beek took second place. The French Funio class, similar prototypes. Good competition, top 3 battling for the lead. Jean Quillet, Patrice Houllier and France Lavorel. 111 Kelly trying to outbrake the leader Houllier in 124. Daring move, staying very close to the outside to prevent Houllier turning in. But the works number 111 takes the lead. But Houllier is determined not to give it up. He fights back. And it is Patrice Houllier who wins it from Jean Quillet and France Lavorel. So that's it for Spa, and the final race weekend comes up at Assen towards the end of October with all divisions back in action. Why not join the party for a weekend of close, exciting racing? This programme is powered by Dunlop Tyres, Spa05.com, Autosportinsurance.com, Syntix and PPG Fitzner.